Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Real to Ideal Revolutionary Show. I'm so happy you're here. If you're watching live, definitely give us those hearts and, likes and let us know that you're here. Say hello. And if you're listening to this anywhere live and you're not on the Real to Ideal page, just know that we can't see your comments unless you're on this post on the Real to Ideal page. So if you're listening to this live, pop over to facebook.com/real to ideal and then pop your comments in there so that we can actually see them while we're doing this and you can be part of the conversation. And that goes for every Thursday at noon Pacific and 3 p.m. Eastern time. You can join the conversation live at facebook.com/real to ideal. I'm super excited about this show today because Rochelle Sanchez is with us today. Hi, Rochelle.
Hi.
Rochelle and I have been orbiting each other in each other's groups, chatting with each other for at least a year now. And Rochelle, I feel like we share so many business values in common. Definitely when I've heard you speak about how business can change the world, it's 100% in alignment with what Real to Ideal puts out there. So I think our audience is going to love you and everything that you have to say. So please introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about Rochelle.
Hi, everybody, and thank you, Molly, for having me on this. I'm excited. This is just basically you and me talking like we usually do. So,
Yep.
so it's kind of cool. Hi, everyone. I do something that's very similar to what Molly does. I help people with online businesses, basically putting together your online platform. And my specialty is working with people who are in that, what I call the awkward teenage phase between when you actually invest, you bought the courses, you did all your research, you tried it, you did everything right, and like you're not a millionaire yet and you don't know why. So I'm actually pretty good at pegging what didn't work. So sitting people down and saying, okay, so what did you do? What did you actually want? And then you only have to fix these little things. So it's not too bad. Just try it again and we're good. So
I love it. So that sounds like a very good description of the rebuild and relaunch. Tell us about that. Is that your Facebook group?
Yeah, it is. It's my free Facebook group where we have a monthly theme and I basically just go deep on a certain topic for an entire month so that if you are seriously having trouble with that, then like I've got you and I can answer all of your questions because I love questions. I'm just one of those people who's like, what do you need? So I theme the group around what we really need right now as a whole. And for the month of May, we were talking about being yourself, because I know that a lot of people feel a lot of pressure to be someone else, to come off as someone else. And it's awkward for everyone because you don't feel good. And then the people watching or following you, we're pretty intuitive. So we're like, I don't think that that's the whole story, but okay. And, we're doing what we see everybody else doing. And it's one of those things where like, no, you should just be yourself, be that quirky, weird, ambitious, passionate kind of person. And that will take you further, I think.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And that's going to go perfectly with our theme here at Real to Ideal for the month of May. Even though it's the last day of May, we can still slip this in, which is leadership for introverts. And that's a lot of what we have been talking about is about showing up as your true authentic self, tapping into your true authentic self, peeling off all of those masks of I have to do it this way, or I should do it that way, or I see someone else doing it that way. How to actually peel those masks off, tap into your true authentic self, and then how to bring her online. Because it's not like we just wake up one day, a successful CEO with all the right mindset and all the right skills and everything in the right place, and then just like show up online like, okay, this is easy. Let's just do this.
Yeah. And online is a great platform for introverts, I think. It's great.
Agreed. Oh, I couldn't agree more. This is like the perfect opportunity for you to plug in for a minute and then like before your batteries get completely drained, unplug, go recharge the batteries, and then come back when you're on fire again.
Mm-hmm. Like when there's just too much stimulation, you can literally press the off button and the stimulation is gone. And it's good.
Yes. All right. Let's get some hellos in here. Jennifer and Amy and Jennifer. Jennifer Dragonette, Jennifer Vaylor, and Amy, I'm going to guess, Amy Ambrosic. I love that name, by the way. I'll say hello. Hello, Rochelle.
Hi, guys.
So if you have any questions during this conversation, please pop them in the comments there. And if you have any feedback, if you want to add to what we're saying, also jump in the comments and let us know. We're happy to bring you into the conversation. So let's start off, just in case people have to run and don't make it to the end of the show. I just want to throw this up here early, and this will, of course, be in the show notes. You can go to RochelleSanchez.com/real to ideal. And that's just one word, just the way it sounds, real to ideal. And tell us a little bit about what they'll find on the other side of this link.
Yeah, it's a link to my group. So if you have, a pressing issue, and actually this is really good timing because it's wildcard week in my group, which means like free for all. Anything, any questions that you have, any feedback that you need, you can go ahead and ask it, and it doesn't have to be within the monthly theme. So you can find the link to my Facebook group there, and we have like a ton of training that you can catch up on. You can binge watch if you want to. So you'll find the link there, but you'll also see a workbook that was one of my very first digital products. It's the Shy workbook, and it's something that I made back at the beginning of like my entrepreneurial journey, where I basically walk people through how to go from that like really uncomfortable, kind of unhappy, I just don't feel good in my own skin, shy person, to embracing the introvert. And at the time, introversion wasn't really a big thing like it is right now. But, working that out through myself, through like books, actual books from the library, if you can believe it. But I worked through that, and then I figured out my own, what it was that I did for myself. And I put it into like a workbook format to help other people who I know have struggled with shyness, and there's a difference, right? There's shyness, which is uncomfortable, doesn't feel good. There's introversion, which is just how you are, and you're okay with that.
Nice. Nice. So tell us a little bit more about that. Like, what are some of the things that you've helped your clients with, or what are some of the things that have helped you overcome that shyness, or use the internet in a way that works for introverts?
Yeah, I think that it's, well, like we said, the internet is great because you can literally turn it off. So, but I think that is just understanding that there's a difference between being shy and being an introvert. And there's a difference between not wanting to be around people and wanting to be around people. And it's not so much like, oh, I'm such an introvert, I don't want to be around anyone. It's more like you have your limit, and just acknowledging what you feel like and what it takes for you to actually feel comfortable in your own skin, to not feel deflated, to not, feel like you're just overwhelmed with everyone talking at the same time, or talking too loud, or things like that. So it's not, I think what I discovered early on was that it was more social anxiety for me. So I was like, I am the shy person. I can't talk. I literally in college could not raise my hand during class because I was like, I just can't talk in front of people. And sometimes I still feel that, but the difference between now and then was that I didn't like it. I was like, I'm a terrible person. I don't know how to communicate. I am so uncomfortable, and, that kind of thing. So it was like more the anxiety, the pain associated with it, versus now when I can say, I'm with a group of people. They're all talking to each other. I'm not saying anything, and I'm perfectly cool with that. And I think that you can kind of have that essence in online marketing when you see, we're literally seeing a whole feed of people talking to each other. And if you don't have anything to say, or if you don't have a way of getting yourself out there, you can be perfectly okay with that. And it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you. It's really just how you are. You like intimate, one-to-one kind of relationships. You like to make connections, personally. Maybe you're not one of those I need other people to lift me up and give me energy.
Oh, that's a huge one. Oh, I love that you said that last part, because I've noticed with my clients, we don't always talk about whether you're an extrovert or an introvert. Like, that's not like part of the program or anything. But I've noticed, especially in my group programs, that the extroverts struggle so much more than the introverts when it comes to feeling recognized and getting that external validation. So like, whereas the introverts, I think there's a part of us that, like, when we put out a post and it gets crickets, we're kind of like, whatever, we might take it personal. I'd be like, why is this not working? Why am I getting crickets? Why is this not resonating with people? And we kind of go into this introspection kind of thing. Whereas what I've noticed, and hopefully this isn't universal, but what I have noticed in the programs that I've been part of is that the extroverts really stress out about it. Like people don't like me if they're not liking my posts, if they're not commenting on my posts. They need that external validation because that's so intrinsic to like how they have gotten through school and through other, careers. It's like they're looking for that feedback for whether or not they're doing a good job.
Mhm.
Introverts, I think, have kind of given up on that feedback, maybe even like hiding from that feedback. Like, I don't really care what you think of me because like, I just want to go over here and be by myself. Like, I don't really care if you like it or not, because like, you're not like the world that I'm trying to exist in over here, kind of thing. And so this is actually a place that introverts can shine in the sense that we don't need that external validation as much. And so I think this is an area where we survive a little better online from not needing that feedback, not needing that external validation and stuff like that. So just throwing that out there for all you introverts. It's like, we feel like we struggle more because it's like, it's hard for us to show up. It's hard for us to socialize. It's hard for us to be on camera like this. Well, there's places where we excel also. And that is the, not needing the external validation as much and knowing when to unplug and that kind of thing. Because extroverts can kind of get high off of the feedback and the engagement and not unplug. Whereas the extroverts, I think, tend to recognize, okay, I need to unplug and stuff like that. So let's see here. We've got some comments. Let's jump into that before my next question. Hello, Fiona. I threw that up there earlier, but I want to say hello formally. So Jennifer says, I feel the same time now I take the time to fill my cup back up after big events. Yes, agreed. I do the same thing with this show. Every single time we go live on Thursday, I have to decompress after the show and recharge my battery. So it becomes like hour-long anime lunchtime after this, where it's just me and the anime and some pizza or whatever. That's my Thursday.
That's what I should have done. I remember like a year ago, I did my first sort of webinar masterclass kind of thing. And it was my very first. I just went for it. I was like, okay, let's try this. And it drained the heck out of me. I had no idea because I had a lot of people on there and they were interacting and it was great. But at the end, I was literally like, I had to leave my office, go downstairs, and I was laying on the floor in my living room. I was like, okay, come on, grounding back in. I was down to zero at the end of it.
And so then how is it for you now? Like showing up and doing something like this or a master class? Has it gotten easier?
It has. Yeah. I think it's, well, now I know that I end up on the floor, down to zero. So having had that experience, I know that now. But yeah, I definitely have my own, I don't have a ritual per se, but I do leave space. I leave space beforehand. To talk positively to myself or even for this or for a call or anything like that. I leave that space so that I can say, okay, what's going on with me first, and then we can open up and do it because no one likes to show up when you're only like half full, that doesn't help anyone.
Yeah. And that I would say that goes for sales calls, that goes for speaking engagements, that goes for podcasts, interviews, even just a regular old Facebook Live. It's like every time you show up, you're reinforcing your brand, like how people remember you. And so there'll be times where you have to push through it. You're like, I'm feeling half full today, but I'm going to show up anyway. But as much as possible, I agree that before event ritual is really important too. Getting your energy right beforehand.
And then the afterward is the, if you're me, because I know this about myself, I have to hype myself back up again. I'm like, that was great, Rochelle. I did great. And do all those things that like a parental figure would tell you after you do something on a stage at a school play or something. Like you gotta have that little celebration moment afterward.
Yep. When I first started doing Facebook Lives, I literally had to have a reward waiting for me. And like one day it would be cheesecake. Another day it would be like a shot of whiskey or something like that. Or it's like, as soon as you're done, you can have this. It's like, well, whatever works. Because now I don't need those things anymore. It's not like I became Pavlovian's dog where it's like, I'm only going to do it if I get the treat or something. Now it's like, oh, this is easy. I'll just show up for an hour and then I'll go do my anime thing.
Yeah, for me, it's errands. Like I go out and put the mail out and, pick up library books and stuff like that. So it's
nice.
some kind of decompressing thing where you're not, I think you're not like focused on it and replaying it in your
Yeah.
head. That type.
Yes. Oh my gosh, yes. Definitely avoiding the loops that play over and over and over in your head. All
Yeah.
right, a few more questions. I feel like we could just go for the rest of the show about the tape that plays. But let's see here. Okay, so Jennifer Dragonette says, I feel the same time. Now I take the time to fill my cup back up. Oh, yeah, so we said that one. Sorry. Let's see here. And then we've got, oh, good. Okay, so Jennifer's laughing. And then Jennifer agrees, whiskey or chocolate or yoga. Yes. Yes, those are all great for before and after a major chocolate and yoga will balance you out, and whiskey will give you the courage. Don't recommend that, like, as a vice necessarily. But like I said, I mean, it worked to get me out there. And now, like you, Rochelle, it's like, oh, this is easy.
Yeah.
And if you're telling me that in college you had trouble even so much as raising your hand and speaking in front of class, compared to where you are now, where you show up live so much more than I do. I mean, you show up on live in your group, on your personal page, on your business page. It's like it seems so natural for you now.
Well, it helps that I'm by myself. Like,
Yeah.
honestly, I mean, and not to say that I don't want to have conversations with people, but like I get talked over a lot in real life, I just want to,
Oh,
as like,
yeah.
I think as an introvert, I like to listen to people. So if other people are talking, I listen. But if it's just me, like, you're not just going to stare at the camera. So it's one of those things. But I think that for me personally, and this is something I learned in the past year, where I realized that I'm actually pretty good on camera. So it helps that if you focus on where you actually excel and where it's natural and where you don't have to hype yourself up, I can just turn on the camera and say, oh, I got this topic, I'll do this real quick, and bam, it's a 5-minute video. So
Nice.
keeping it simple for yourself, I think, is key.
Nice. Nice. So let's dive into one of my other favorite topics. And I feel like everyone watching is probably waiting for us to get to some of the juicy stuff, which is tell me about how you feel about changing the world or making the world a better place. Do you see your business as a way of doing that? That kind of stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah. I didn't embrace this until literally this year, I think, because I did the usual hopping around from one thing to another. You Google how to just start a business. And so I did all the selling jewelry and shakes and DVDs and things like that, which is fine, but it wasn't a great fit for me. And I think over the last 2 or 3 years, I had to have a heart to heart with myself and realize that I want to make a difference, and I want to make a difference in my actual community with the people I really know. And what I know, the pain that I'm very familiar with is, corporate culture. It's people working in jobs that don't light them up, that take up pretty much all of their life time, their time of living,
Mm-hmm.
and they're so unhappy. And I know this from my own experience. And not everyone I know has the balls like I did to just take a leap of faith and just jump right into it, right? Not everyone else is wired that way. But what I can do is I can help people maybe make that transition from working for someone else to working for themselves. But at the very least, I can help them bring something that they're passionate about to life online. And I think that we live in a very different world than what your parents brought you up in, or what you yourself may have grown up in. This is for everyone, and it's a very different world. This is like the age of movements and opportunity and the internet. I mean, like, how many of us can say, well, we didn't have the internet at the time. Now we have the internet, and it's supposed to, everything that we have is supposed to make our lives easier. I feel like we are wired to be happy and to be blessed and to be successful, and it's just a matter of knowing how. And that's how I do what I do.
Yes. Yes, yes. And based on our previous conversations about this kind of thing, I know that we've resonated with each other over the idea that, like, our businesses can use the internet as a way to connect with other people, and we can use our businesses as a stage, as a platform to share our ideals. And that by sharing those ideals in our business doesn't mean that we're what's the word I'm looking for? I know a lot of people are afraid to talk about what they believe in their business because they think, oh, it's going to hurt business. Like, you don't see, I don't know, like, what would be a good example, but like, you don't see Sears out there, talking about whether they're for or against the current president. You know what I
Right.
mean? You don't see the Gap talking about, certain issues. I guess maybe nowadays you see it a little bit more, but like when you see it with companies like that, it feels like a marketing ploy, right? Like you're like, well, the Gap's notorious for sweatshops. So of course they're going to speak out about this other thing to hide the fact that they're, have sweatshop labor or something like that.
Yeah.
So when we see it then, it's like a marketing ploy. But in fact, in our businesses, as long as we're not using it as a marketing ploy, as long as it is authentic and it is how we really feel and really believe, it can actually attract amazing clients to you because it's showing that you're a person. You're not just a business. You're not just after your bottom line. You're not choosing these conversation topics because you think it's going to triple your profits or something like that. It's because you want to work with people who you really connect with. You want to work with people who have similar beliefs with you because those are the people that are going to get the best results from you and that you're going to enjoy working with the most.
Oh yeah, definitely. People, it's that cliche line about people don't, they buy why you do what you do, not what you're actually doing. I mean, I guess it's not a cliche, it's true. But it really is true. It's like there's so many people who do exactly what we do, or what anyone does. There's so many people, but if you don't open up and you don't actually show your personality and your own personal beliefs, then there's not a lot to talk about. We can talk about logistics and email lists and marketing and all that stuff, but it's like, no, it's really all about you, especially on the internet. That's how people make a difference, is that you show your personal story, you show how you overcame it, you show how other people can do it too, you show what you believe in, and that's what they buy into. And it's I don't know, I guess saying buy into it is kind of like not giving it credit, but it's literally what we're doing. We're buying into this idea that everyone can have the kind of life that they want.
Yeah. And like you said, it's so different from what we grew up in and what our parents grew up in and everything like that. It's like when our parents were out there, either starting their own business or, climbing the career ladder or whatever, it wasn't all about like, oh, what have you overcome? What's your personal story? Like, what's your perspective on life? Like, how do you feel about these things? Like, those weren't the things you put on a resume.
Mm-hmm.
But yet, that's exactly what's going to help you get ahead as a business owner in this day and age and online. Because
Yeah, and
people
I
want to
think
buy
that we
from
can
you.
get hung up on what's holding us back a little too much. Like we can rattle off about, oh, I don't have whatever. I don't have enough time to do it because of my job and my commute. I don't have enough money to do all these extra tools and stuff like that. And it's just like, no, well, if you reframe it a little, you can do a lot, without spending a dime. You can do a lot without going through whatever training or certification or having so many lead magnets, just the addiction to making lead magnets out there. So
Yeah,
you can
yeah.
do it now. And so do it now.
Oh my gosh, this works perfectly with what Jennifer is commenting. Jennifer Dragonette says, jump in when you're ready. I did that in January, giving myself a full year at least to get this going. What made you jump, Rochelle, after all the MLMs into what you're doing now?
Ooh. Okay. So what made me switch over from like selling other people's products to what I do now?
Sounds like
Um,
somebody knows you because I didn't even know that you had an MLM thing before.
well,
So,
I think I mentioned the nails and jewelry and
oh,
shapes and
sure,
stuff
sure.
like that.
Good
So
point. Okay.
I really did try. I tried so hard, you guys. Like I'm one of those people that was like, what am I doing wrong? Okay, I can fix it. But what called me out was, let's see, I was doing fitness coaching, maybe. Yeah, I was in like the fitness MLM sector, and I was at my day job listening to one of the live calls, like the coaching calls, and I was
Yeah.
using my work computer to type in a question. This is what a good employee I was, but I
Yeah.
was typing in my question, and the coach called me out on the call. She said, "Do you actually like fitness coaching?" And I was like, I was like, I don't think so.
Wow.
Yeah, right there in my
Wow.
office at my desk, because of the questions I was asking, right? Because I'm just one of those people who keeps asking for help, more help, more help. And she was like, "Do you actually like what you're doing?" And I was like, "No, I don't."
Wow.
And I mean, like, and that's not to say that I didn't like fitness or that I didn't enjoy the time with my clients or anything like that. It was one of those, no, what, I don't actually like the actual thing that I'm selling.
Mm-hmm.
And what else do you do but realized that I wanted to sell my own thing. That's what it came down to.
And you have to believe in it 1,000% or it's not going to sell.
Yeah, yeah.
Like if you don't believe in the thing you're selling, no one's going to believe in it enough to buy it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was doing all the things right, like, and I had, for every business attempt, I had like the lead magnet and the email list and the brand new website and all that stuff, and it wasn't working. And then she called me out on it and she was like, do you actually like what you're doing? And I was like, no. And I ended up switching to my own product, my own services. And that's when things started coming together.
Nice. Nice. I love that. All
Good
right, let's
question.
see. Yeah, thanks, Jennifer. That was a great question. Let's see here. So Fiona says, I think it stems from this mustn't offend anyone culture we seem to be living in now. And that goes back, of course, when we were talking about like, you don't see seers going out and talking about like whether or not they approve of the current president and stuff like that. So we were raised in a be careful not to offend people, especially with your business, because your business could fail if you offend everyone in your community.
Yeah.
But that's when your audience was limited to the people who could make it to your store physically, right? Now that we're on the internet, we're really tapping into this abundance in a way that our parents and grandparents were completely unable to do. Now, instead of it being like the people who are willing to drive to your store or who visit when they're a tourist in your town or whatever, now it's like there's over 1 billion people on Facebook alone. If you don't think there's enough people to pay you $10,000 a month in your business, and that small pool of people that are going to build you up to $10,000 a month, if you think like there's not enough people who believe what you believe in order for you to like tap into this tiny pool of people, then it's like, I guess you just don't understand how the internet works. It's like the internet has so many people on it that we can afford to segment out small audiences of people who really believe in things as strongly as we do, as passionately as we do, and who need what we're offering, who want to solve this problem in their life or their business. So we can afford to get radically micro niching.
And the beauty of it is that they can segment themselves too. Like they can unfollow and unsubscribe and like they do it themselves, you guys. I mean, occasionally you get a troll who just can't like hand over the mic and walk away. But most of the time you're dealing with real people. Like think about your coworkers, your family, when they're on their phones all the time. Social media is what they're looking at.
Yeah.
So you may as well be there.
Yeah. And it's funny from my own personal experience. I did have a 9-to-5 office job once, and it was just before starting this business. It was so completely the wrong fit for me. Like here was me who I had never dressed it like in a uniform or in a way that like I wasn't comfortable with before. I had never worked in an office like this before. I'd worked in offices, but it was like casual offices where like you could wear jeans and stuff like that. Here's this like extremely corporate environment, the one that you were talking about, like the one that like we would gladly do away with in the world. Like there is no reason to have a corporate environment anymore. Like you can get better results from your employees if you give them good working environments. It doesn't have to be fluorescent lights and no windows.
Home, even.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, if I could change one thing about the world, obviously I'd go for the big things like hunger and war and stuff like that. But I really think we could make a bigger difference just by making more people happy for the 8 hours they spend at work. And sometimes that's as simple as like switch out the fluorescent lighting, people. Get some plants or move to a building with glass walls or windows or whatever. Like it just drives me crazy that we're like in these 70s buildings that feel like dungeons and in cubicles on top of that. But anyway, so when I was at this job, I was trying to like fit in. So like I wore the suit and I acted the way I thought you were supposed to act. And like I did okay. Like, but it's like I didn't make any friends because I wasn't being myself. I wasn't being like my weird, quirky, like I get super excited about stuff kind of self. Yeah. And then I started this business. And then of course, like when I started this business, I started to like really come out of my shell. And I was like, oh, I can be myself. Well, get ready, world, because here I come. I'm like, I'm letting it all go now. And so then when I would go back to work, because I still had my 9-to-5 job, this business hadn't picked up yet. I would go back to work and I was like, you know what? I don't care about this job anymore. Like, I know my business is going to take off. So I'm just going to like let it go here too. And like, I started letting my personality out. I started dyeing my hair back to like weird colors. Like, that's when I started doing like the brunette with the like hot red underneath the brunette. So it was like streaks of color kind of popping out. And I just started being like weirder at work. And all of a sudden I'm being offered promotions that I didn't want, and like, and I was offered a raise to stay instead of quitting and doing my business. And people were really starting to bond with me. And it's like, oh my gosh, like massive breakthrough right here. It's like, here's me thinking like, this is how you need to act. This is how you need to dress. This is how you need to behave. This is the mask I'm going to wear to succeed in this business, or sorry, in that career. Mm-hmm. And this is the suit I'm going to wear to get by, or, to get ahead in this career. Turns out all of that was the wrong formula. Like, here's a place where you would think that like following the rules would get you ahead. And it turns out breaking all the rules is what really actually works. And then to see that so clearly in a place where you think that would be the opposite, and then to like show up in my business and be like, I don't know how to communicate this to everyone listening, but like being yourself is so much more successful. Like, I don't know how to illustrate it, but just trust me, it's okay.
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh my gosh. I was laughing at when you started telling that story, because I cannot imagine you in like a stuffy corporate kind of thing. So I'm glad that it ends with you like blossoming into and just showing the real Molly. But
yeah. I can't really imagine it either, but I was there for like 4 years or something.
Wow.
That's and it was because when I was a vintage race car mechanic, I had injured my back. You can't avoid doing. Every race car mechanic injures their back because there's no way to avoid bad posture when you're working on race cars. It's like, ow, that's hot. I can't lean on that. So I'm going to have to like arch over in this way. That's really bad for you. And so I'd injured my back and I had to take a desk job. And I didn't want the desk job where I was working because, well, for many different reasons, but like it wouldn't have paid enough and it wasn't really available at the time anyway. Mm-hmm. So then I got this corporate job thinking like, I'm going to make more money sitting at a desk than I made as a race car mechanic, and things are going to be awesome because I can afford stuff now and it's going to be great. And I was like, yeah, no, none of that actually. Money's not everything.
I know. Can you imagine like how much better the world would be if people actually liked their jobs? Like, you don't even have to have a business, but if everyone who has a day job loved it, boy, like, can you imagine how much more positive we would be? How, there would be less road rage, there'd be less rude people at the grocery store, doing their groceries, and just your job and the way you make your living really makes a difference, and if you're just not happy and all it does is give you money, then that's not all there is to it.
Yeah. And you know what else drives me crazy is that for people to enjoy their job, sometimes it's as simple as like the people around them showing them that they're appreciated. Mm-hmm. So like I feel like 75% of the unhappiness working for someone else comes from the fact that someone else doesn't appreciate you. Yeah. They're not giving you the promotions you deserve. They're not letting you work on projects that you're suited for. They're not listening to your ideas, or they're listening to your ideas and then claiming them as their own and stuff like that. It's like bad bosses are the reason why people quit their jobs and start a business.
Yeah, unfortunately, yeah.
So yeah, if you work a 9 to 5, or if you're the boss of your business and you want your employees to be happy, don't be a bad boss.
And not leave, Yeah. I mean, like I have that experience too, where I didn't really feel challenged or appreciated, or, when when it's not a good idea to speak up when you're in that situation. It's reality. And I know that because I job hopped a lot, before I did my business. It was like a different job pretty much every year for like 4 or 5 years. So I'm very familiar with writing 2 weeks notice resignation letters. And I got to tell you, every job that I quit, they were shocked and they were bummed that I was leaving, but I was like, well, it's too late. I'm moving on, but yeah, this is a real thing, and not everyone needs to start a business. Not everyone has to be an entrepreneur, but everyone should be able to be happy at least every day.
And you know what? I'd even throw out that not every business has to be a full-time gig either. It's
Right.
okay to have a side hustle that makes you happy and still keep the 9 to 5 if that suits your personality. Because there's some
Mhm.
people who are like actually amazing bosses and amazing managers and amazing employees and stuff. And they really should keep their 9 to 5 because they're great at it. But that side hustle could bring in the extra $1,000 a month or $2,000 a month, and it could just, make you happier at work and stuff like that. So yeah, not everyone has to be a business owner like 100%. There's different ways to do it.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I want to jump into Fiona's comment before we move on. So this is, and we'd be helping to reduce mental illness. This goes back to, I think it stems from the mustn't offend anyone culture we seem to live in now. And we would be helping to reduce mental illness if we were to just allow ourselves to be ourselves.
Imagine that, huh?
Yeah. So in addition to, let's see here, we've covered the leadership for introverts, how to shine online for introverts. We've talked a little bit about how to make the world a better place, whether you're in a corporate environment or a business owner. Tell us a little bit about rebuild and relaunch. Like, what are some of the common mistakes you see people see, or what is like the number one key to getting over a failed launch and trying again? Just tell us a little bit about your perspective from that.
Yeah, first of all, the usual, don't give up too soon. So if you tried something, obviously it's most of the time it won't work the first time, and that's okay. So just being easy on yourself and not expecting perfection just because you launched something and it didn't get the results that you were expecting. I think that that's harder to stomach when you spend so much time like building up to it and not actually putting something out there. Like so many people, they're just asking all these weird questions that don't even have to do with the actual thing that they want to do. Like in an analogy, I was outside like watering my plants in the garden today, and I was like, doing the mist and all that stuff, and I was like, this is very similar to what a lot of people are struggling with their business. It's like if you were asking someone, okay, when is the best time to water your plants? What is the best hose? What is the best, the best type of plant for everything? And then you say, why are you asking all these questions? And it turns out that they want to grow their own vegetables organically because they're anti pesticides, and they want to live healthier. And I'm like, why are you asking this stuff then? Like, why are you worried about all the little nitty gritty teeny things that don't even matter? Like, there are other ways to eat organically than growing them yourself with the perfect hose and watering at the right time. So it's kind of like the same thing with business, where people feel very passionately about transforming lives. They're very talented coaches. They're so good one-to-one, and they're just like, oh, I've worked with coaches, and I was like, how did you know that about me? How did you like see right through me and dig all of this stuff up in 30 minutes? And that's where their talent is. And yet, when they're trying to build their business and launch something, they're asking about the best platform to put their ebook out there. And I'm like, can we just skip over that kind of stuff? And this is what I end up doing. It's like, don't get distracted just because someone on the internet said that you should be doing this. What is it that you want to do? What is it that you're passionate about? What is it that would actually be easy for you? Because it would be a heck of a lot easier to be a coach than to write a book, for someone like that. And just going for what you actually want. So ignoring all of the noise, I would say, and asking how you actually get your stuff up and running. I mean, like, obviously you can't ignore the fact that you need to nurture an audience and you need to spread your reach and all that stuff. It doesn't matter. But I think that people get a little hung up on the details and all the stuff that doesn't really matter in the long run. And they're actually holding themselves back from blossoming and being that person that they've always wanted to be. So that's my job, is to point that stuff out and say, okay, stop it. What do you actually want? What did you do? And just do these things in this order, because that's just how my brain is wired. I'm like, as soon as someone has an idea, I have to kind of hold back and say, and ignore like the big blueprint that's coming up in my brain with like the 10-step checklist of everything that they could do to make it happen. Because I know this stuff, but not everybody sees it the way that I do.
Yeah. But of course, that's what makes you so amazing and so unique, is that you do have a very unique way of seeing things. You have
Mm.
a unique way of approaching this problem. And so that's what's going to like really draw people to you. So that ties into like what we've been talking about this month too, is that like you have a unique way of looking at the world, a unique way of solving problems. If you bundle that and sell that, then you'll be on fire. Like people will gravitate to you because they're like, I've never heard anyone else say it like that, or I've never seen anyone else make it sound so simple. You mean
Mm.
like you mean I don't need to go buy this thing to show me how to do PR, and I don't need to like hire that person to get me guest spots on podcasts, and I don't need to put my book up on Amazon and write 12 chapters and, you know, self-publish it and all this other stuff and do a book launch and a book tour when really all I want to do is coach. Really?
Yeah.
I don't have to do all that stuff.
Yeah.
So then if somebody, let's say, for example, someone has either, you know, launched in the past and had, you know, great results, or launched in the past and it's failed. Maybe they are pivoting in their business or something like that. So let's say that they're trying something totally new, or better yet, you know, you hear a lot of times people are like, oh my God, I just had the most amazing download, like for this idea. And I have no idea if it's going to work. Like, what if I'm the only person in the entire world who thinks this is a good idea? How would you recommend someone launch that? Or what should they do before they launch it to test that idea? Or, you know, again, from your unique point of view.
For me, I think that the thing that comes up is that people get this idea and they're so afraid that it won't be welcomed or embraced fully that they hide it until it's perfect and ready to go, which is like the opposite of what you should be doing. Mm-hmm. So what I usually say when people have an idea is I say, what inspired you to come up with that idea? Because it probably came from somewhere. Like you didn't mm-hmm. completely make it up. And so I would walk them through, you know, where it came from, who else has been successful doing it, because somebody else has done it, right? And to just take a look at their own stuff, not to copy them or to be someone else, but just to show yourself that, okay, this is a real thing. This is, you know, I could do it. And I like to encourage people to just talk to someone that you think is your ideal client. And a lot of people resist this a lot because they're like, okay, if this would be the perfect service for me to sell to this specific person, like not an avatar, but an actual person, like a first and last name, living, breathing human being, right? Hopefully you have someone in mind who is like that. And it's not just a made up service that is a combination of lots of random stuff that you saw on the internet. But assuming that that's the case, I encourage them to talk to that person, to just tell them and say, I have an idea for this. Can I get your feedback on it? And I don't expect you to buy it or anything like that, even though kind of you want them to buy it. But the best way to find out if it's a good fit for your most ideal client is to ask your most ideal client if it makes sense. So my own way of doing that is just reaching out and then talking to them either on Zoom, or I like to use Facebook Messenger, the voice mm-hmm. part. You know, like I have a blog post on this where I like to validate my ideas just by reaching out to someone and saying, hey, can I get your feedback? They'll say yes, because they always say yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because people like to feel appreciated, right? So that's a major compliment if you ask someone for their feedback. And what I do is I use the voice thing to talk to them via Messenger. So you don't necessarily need to have like a coffee chat or, you know, a formal meet and greet kind of thing. You can just send them a message and talk to them like a real person, not the spiel that you worked on, but like the real stuff, and saying, well, this is what I had in mind. This is how it would work. You don't have to talk about pricing and all that stuff, but just getting their honest opinion. And then what's nice is that most people respond back using the voice thing. And I think that that's actually way better than them typing it out. Because most people, they type out their stuff, especially if you're asked for feedback. You know, if I've asked for feedback, I'm really careful about what I type out. Like, does that sentence make sense? Or does this, you know, we do that. But if they use the voice thing and they just talk to you, it's so helpful because they actually say what's on their mind. They're not worried about filtering it, and they feel appreciated. So they're coming from a positive place, that kind of thing. And there's so much that you can learn from that, especially if you talk directly to the person that you have in mind, that I wish that most people, like everyone, would do that, because it's been so helpful for me. This is actually how I set up the business that I have now, because I asked people. I said, I would love to work with this kind of person. I'm going to ask her straight up what she thinks of this service, and it works. So getting feedback, I think, being positive that your idea is a good one, and that you deserve, of course, to pursue it and to help it grow and to learn along the way, but also being really careful about the fact that your service probably involves other people. So getting other people involved from the get-go would be really helpful too.
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't agree more, especially on that last part. Every time I launch something new that I've never launched before, I always make sure I seed it with a few people who have either been following me for a long time or current clients who I want to continue working with, but like in this new way kind of thing. So like when I first launched the Real to Ideal Mastermind, I took 4 women completely for free
Mm-hmm.
through it in a beta test. And then a few of those women expressed interest in doing it again when I launched it to the public. And so I brought them in as like sort of like founding members.
Yeah.
And so they were instrumental and absolutely valuable in the second run of the mastermind, because it's like they carried the conversation. Like then there was like less pressure on me to like be constantly asking people to open up and share their experiences, because here's 2 people who were so comfortable with me and so comfortable with each other that they just opened up and shared their experiences, and that kind of like got the ball rolling and showed other people how to participate as well. And so yeah, when you're doing that initial research, those people who helped you in the beginning, when it comes time to launch it, definitely like, if they're ready to buy in, let them buy in. Obviously, don't stop anyone from handing over their money. But like, if they're like, well, I love this. And when you first came to me with this idea, I was already in love with it, but I just really can't afford it. You might want to offer them like, well, you know what? I do have 2 spots available that I'm going to be giving away. Would you like to join it for free?
Mm-hmm.
Or you can actually use this as a promotional thing, which anyone who's been following me knows I do this too, is, hey, I'm giving away 2 spots to this new program. Here's where you can sign up to be considered for one of those 2 free spots. And that helps you advertise the program too.
Yeah.
And then you get 2 people in there, and usually those 2 people, or 1 person or whatever it may be, but usually that person's like so grateful for the opportunity that, again, they're going to be your most active member, and they're really going to help you increase engagement with people too.
Yeah. I have a similar background with my membership that I run. Is, those people who have been with you from the beginning, it's so easy to reach out to them. You don't have to do any guessing. You just ask, and you just talk to them, and you're like, does this make sense? Like I literally at the beginning of this year, I had to have a call with my members and say, what do you guys think I do? Like, what do I do? Because I was like, I don't know. And I was figuring out a lot of stuff, and I'm super like transparent about this, the stuff that I'm working on in my own business, like in the back end with them. And I just asked them, I'm like, I need help with this. And who better than the people who are, who you're already helping, right?
I love that. That's so on brand for you. I do the same thing. This is another reason why we're so similar, but that's so on brand for both of us too, to be like, okay, I'm going to experiment with this, and I'm going to let you see me experimenting with this, and you're just all going to come along for the ride. Like, this is the adventure that we're on. We're on it together. We're transparent. We're like, I'm going to let you know if this fails or not, so that you don't do this.
Right.
That kind of thing. Or if it's wildly successful, I'm going to show you that too, so that you can decide if this is the right thing for you as well. But yeah, I love brands like that, because it's not on brand for everyone. Like, not everyone should be that transparent. But I definitely resonate with brands like that, who are like, let's just be honest here. Like, what do you think? What do you think I do? What do you think is the next step? What would you like to see more of? That kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
To me, that's a revolutionary leader through and through, because it's not that there's someone who is, at the top of their industry, and it's like some people grow their Facebook community in order to be the authority, and they want to be the one answering the questions in that group and stuff like that. Whereas other people grow Facebook groups and other kinds of community because they want to be the conversation starter. They want to grow that community and say, this community is by you and for you. I want to hear what you want.
Mhm.
and then if it fits what I can offer, I will offer that kind of thing. And so this is kind of like we're building this business together. And to
Yeah.
me, that's very much a revolutionary leader,
Hmm.
that the community is part of the business.
Yeah. I think that we're kind of over the whole everybody build your business in secret and then reveal it to the world. Like, I think that that phase is past and that we're ready to just kind of be honest with each other and
Yeah.
and do what you actually want to do.
Yep. Awesome. Oh my gosh, Rochelle, I feel like we could just talk like this all day because this
I
is
think
just
so.
natural to us.
There are
Like,
like a few points that you made that I was like, oh, we could have like a whole episode on that.
yeah. Yeah. But yeah, so I don't see any new questions popping in. So if you're listening to this live, last chance to throw some comments in there or ask a question. Any last thoughts that you want to share, Rochelle? Like anything you'd like to leave our listeners with?
Well, first I'll put a link to the blog post where I outlined like my version of how I validate my ideas so that you guys can read through it. So I'll put that on the page, the
Fabulous.
Real to Ideal page on my website, so that you guys can read through it if you're interested in that kind of thing. But just closing thoughts. I think Molly, you're doing something good here. Like seriously, you're inspiring so many people. You are seriously like one of the very few people. I hate to say that, but like you're one of the few people that I truly resonate with online because we've
Oh,
got so much of the same thing going on over and over, and it it's not that everyone is doing the same thing, but everyone thinks that they have to do it the same way as everyone else. So being able to take a stand and just be your own quirky, weird kind of self, in the online space, and not and doing the mindset stuff behind that too. I think that's key too, just to feel confident in who you are and your personality. But I admire that about you, and I'm really grateful for this connection that we have and this opportunity to talk to your folks because we need more people like us, right?
yeah.
We really do. I think enough is enough, and we have the tools and the skills and the manpower and the everything that we need to make a difference. And it's just a matter of people being brave enough to take small steps and take action on it.
Yay. Oh, thank you so much. That totally like explodes my heart. Thank you. Explodes my heart in a good way. And I couldn't agree more. Like that's one of the reasons why I was so excited about this conversation is because I feel like you and I are very much not on the same path, but on a path that's like very complementary.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're not saying the same thing, but we definitely have similar values. We have similar ways of looking at things. We definitely solve problems in a similar way. We're both very like no nonsense, no frills. Like we're going to tell you how it is, kind of
Yeah.
thing. That might scare some people off, but it, can't help everybody, kind of
Yeah.
thing. And also, yeah, definitely we agree with like let's do away with corporate culture, even if it just means like making corporate culture better for those
Yeah.
who want to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And for everyone who doesn't want to be there, come work with Rochelle and I will help you get your business off the ground so you can quit.
Take that leap of faith.
Yeah. Let's see, we got one more comment. Let's see here. Jennifer Vaylor says, I'm very similar and totally myself, just need to share it more. Yes, yes. And that is definitely, I think, another strong theme I see coming out of this month is how to bring more of that online, how
Mm-hmm.
to share it more, how to show up in this authentic way more, and that kind of thing. So all right. Thank you so much, Rochelle. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being you and for standing up for quirkiness and being your true authentic self. I love it. Definitely not the last time you're going to hear from Rochelle. She is in my Facebook group as well. Go join her Facebook group. It's called Rebuild and Relaunch, right? Did I say
Yeah.
that right? Okay.
Well,
Rebuild
that's the
and
beginning of
Relaunch
it, so it'll come
with
up.
Rochelle. Yeah. And I will put links to these kinds of things in the show notes. So yeah, that's all I have. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you, Rochelle. Bye.